Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on BTV Global News at 12. My name is Temitope Oluwafemi. And now to the news in details. U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright led a high-level diplomatic and energy policy visit to Caracas, Venezuela on February 11th and 12th, marking the most senior U.S. engagement focused on Venezuelan energy in nearly 30 years. The report.
We want to set the Venezuelan people and the economy free.
Wright met with interim president and oil minister Delcy Rodriguez and other Venezuelan officials to promote expanded U.S. investments in Venezuela's energy sector, including oil, gas, and electricity production. He emphasized that increased foreign investment could help raise Venezuela's current oil output around 1 million barrels per day and support job creation, higher wages, and broader economic improvement for the Venezuelan people. Wright stated that the United States is prepared to help modernize Venezuela's energy infrastructure, encourage U.S. and Western Hemisphere energy cooperation, and support the country's economic recovery after years of underinvestment and sanction. U.S. government action have included issuing new general licenses to allow oil and gas exploration and production by American companies. He described Venezuela's recently passed hydrocarbons reform law, which ends the state's oil monopoly and allows private control over production and independent arbitration as a step towards attracting investment. However, he acknowledged that more reforms and debt restructuring for companies affected by past nationalization will take time. While meeting reporters, Wright also addressed the presence of Chinese businesses in Venezuela's energy sector. He said that legitimate investment by legitimate Chinese companies will be acceptable, but the U.S. aims to avoid damaging deals similar to those it says China has made in other developing countries. He reiterated concerns about an agreement that the U.S. government view as not mutually beneficial. In a related development, Wright told NBC News that oil sales involving Venezuelan crude under U.S. control have already brought in more than $1 billion, with expectations of an additional $5 billion in the coming month. These sales are being refined at U.S. facilities with proceeds directed to Venezuela's interim government. The visit follows a dramatic shift in Venezuela's political landscape, including the capture of former President Nicolas Maduro in January 2026. The Trump administration is pursuing a reconstruction plan for Venezuela's energy industry and actively encouraging American and Western investments ahead of potential full sanction relief. Despite official optimism, analysts and energy executives note that attracting large flow of foreign capital will be difficult due to lingering legal and political uncertainties, along with extensive costs of rehabilitating Venezuela's aging energy infrastructure. Evelyn Izibile reporting for BTV News.
Wall Street major indices closed sharply lower on Friday as a renewed sell-off in technology stocks rattled investors, while mounting concerns over artificial intelligence disruptions triggered heavy losses in transport shares. The report.
The tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite slumped 2%, leading the downtrend as investors dumped high-growth technology names that have powered much of the market's rally in recent months. The S&P 500 also declined significantly, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average posted notable losses, reflecting broad-based weakness across sectors. The latest wave of selling was fueled by fears that rapid advances in artificial intelligence could unsettle established business models and reshape profit expectations across industries. Market participants expressed concern that companies heavily invested in AI infrastructure may face increasing competition, regulatory scrutiny, and uncertain returns on investments. Technology giant board burns of the sell-off, with semiconductor and software stock retreating amid worries about stretched valuation and overheating enthusiasm around AI-driven growth. Analysts noted that investors are becoming more cautious, reassessing whether current stock price fully reflect potential risks tied to evolving AI developments. Transport stock also fell sharply, signaling broader economic unease. The decline in airlines, rail operators, and logistic companies suggested investors are growing wary about the outlook for demand and economic expansion. The Dow Jones Transportation Average recorded one of its steepest drops in recent weeks. Traders said the market's weakness reflects a shift in sentiment rather than a sudden change in fundamentals. After months of strong gains fueled by optimism over artificial intelligence breakthrough, investors are now locking in profits and rotating into safer assets. Bond yield moved lower as funds flowed into government debt, indicating a flight to safety. Meanwhile, volatility rose with options market pricing in greater uncertainty in the near term. Market strategists caution that while artificial intelligence remain a long-term growth theme, short-term volatility is likely to persist as companies release earning reports and provide updated guidance on AI-related investments. Despite Friday's sharp decline, analysts emphasize that the broader economic backdrop remains relatively stable. However, they warn that continued pressure on technology shares could weigh on overall market performance in the coming weeks if investor confidence fails to stabilize. Trading volumes were elevated compared to recent session, underscoring the intensity of the sell-off as Wall Street ended the week on a cautious note. Evelyn Isibile reporting for Beetv News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the repeal of a long-standing federal scientific determination that greenhouse gas emissions endanger human health, marking what analysts describe as the most sweeping effort yet by his administration to dismantle U.S. climate regulations. The report.
The decision targets the 2009 endangerment finding issued by the Environmental Protection Agency, which concluded that carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases pose a threat to public health and welfare. That finding has served as the legal foundation for the wide range of federal climate regulations, including vehicle emission standards and limits in power plant pollution. In a statement released on Thursday, President Trump said the repeal was aimed at restoring economic strength, protecting American jobs, and eliminating unnecessary regulatory burdens on industry. He argued that previous climate policies had imposed costly restrictions on manufacturers, energy producers, and consumers. By provoking the endangerment findings, the administration has effectively moved the dismantled federal authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions under the Clean Air Act. Legal experts say the move could significantly weaken or eliminate emissions limits on automobiles, trucks, and certain industrial sectors. As part of the broader rollback, the administration also announced an end to stricter federal vehicle emission standards introduced on the previous administrations. Those standards had required automakers to steadily improve fuel efficiency and reduce tailpipe emission over time. The EPA said it would begin a formal rulemaking process to withdraw the scientific determination, a move that is expected to face immediate legal challenges from environmental groups and several state governments. Critics argue that the repeal ignores decades of scientific research linking greenhouse gas emissions to rising global temperatures, extreme weather events, and public health risk. Environmental organizations condemned the decision, calling it a direct attack on climate science. They warned that removing federal emission standards could increase air pollution, worsen climate change, and undermine U.S. commitment to global climate efforts. Supporters of the president's move, including several industry groups, welcomed the action. They contend that climate regulations have driven up production costs and contributed to higher vehicle prices and energy expenses for American households. The original endangerment finding followed a 2007 Supreme Court ruling in Massachusetts. EPA, which determined that greenhouse gases qualify as pollutants under the Clean Air Act and that the EP must regulate them if found to endanger public health. Legal analysts say reversing the finding could trigger a long court battle. Any final repeal would likely to revive by federal court and could ultimately return to the Supreme Court. The move represents a significant shift in U.S. environmental policy and signals a renewed push by the Trump administration to prioritize domestic energy production and deregulation over federal climate initiatives. Favor Kolawole reporting for Beetv News.
In a major shift of policy, U.S. President Donald Trump has agreed to end the large-scale immigration enforcement surge in Minnesota, according to White House border Caesar Tom Homan. The announcement came at a press conference on Thursday, February 12, 2026, where Homan said that many immigration enforcement agents deployed as part of the operation will begin returning to their home state over the coming week. The report.
The operation, officially known as Operation Metro Surge, involved the deployment of around 3,000 armed federal agents from Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection (CBP). Since early December in Minneapolis, St. Paul's area, the Trump administration described it as the largest deportation effort in U.S. history. Homan said the decision to conclude the surge followed what he described as improved cooperation with local law enforcement and jails, and that a significant drawdown of agents has already begun and will continue through next week. He added that a smaller number of federal personnel will remain temporarily to oversee the transition and respond to any disturbance. The announcement marks a rare retreat for President Trump on immigration enforcement policy, which has been a central theme of his administration and 2024 campaign. Critics, including local officials and civil rights advocates, have widely condemned the surge for its aggressive tactics and impact on community. Minnesota operation drew intense public protests and legal challenges, particularly after two U.S. citizens, Rainer Good and Alex Pratty, were fatally shot during interactions with federal agents in January. These incidents sparked national outrage and renewed debates over federal immigration enforcement practices. Local leaders, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, had openly opposed the surge, arguing that it harmed public safety, civil rights, and community trust. Walz said the work to recover from the operation's impact would be long, citing economic and social disruptions. While the drawdown will bring many agents home, the Trump administration has stated that immigration enforcement will continue in other parts of the country and that ICE will still pursue individuals it deemed threats to public safety. Favor Kolawole reporting for Beetv News.
The French pharmaceutical giant Sanofi has removed Chief Executive Officer Paul Hudson from his position, bringing to an end a 6-year tenure that was marked by ambitious restructuring efforts but slowed momentum in replacing aging blockbuster drugs and mounting external pressures, particularly from the United States. The report.
The board announced Hudson's departure following what it described as a strategic review of the company's performance and long-term direction. The decision reflects growing investor concerns over Sanofi's pipeline development, vaccine business outlook, and the company's ability to offset revenue losses from products nearing patent expiration. Hudson, who took the helm in 2019, was tasked with transforming Sanofi into a more innovation-driven pharmaceutical group. His strategy focused on prioritizing specialty care and immunology, scaling back on less profitable segments and investing heavily in research and development. While the company made progress in certain therapeutical areas, analysts noted that its broader turnaround fell short of expectations. One of the key challenges during Hudson's leadership was the looming patent cliff facing several of Sanofi's high-revenue drugs. As generic competition intensified, the company struggled to deliver replacement products at the scale and speed required to maintain steady growth. Investors increasingly questioned whether the pipeline was robust enough to sustain long-term performance. Sanofi's vaccine division, historically a core strength, also faced headwinds. The global vaccine market has become more competitive, and shifting health policies, particularly in the United States, have added uncertainty. Rising anti-vaccine rhetoric and policy debates in parts of the U.S. have complicated public health messaging and affected demand projections, placing additional pressure on major vaccine manufacturers. Market reaction to the leadership change was closely watched as stakeholders have been urging stronger execution and clearer strategic direction. The board indicated that new leadership would focus on accelerating drug development, sharpening commercial execution, and reinforcing Sanofi's position in high-growth therapeutic areas. Hudson's exit underscores the broader challenges facing large pharmaceutical companies navigating patent expirations, regulatory shifts, and evolving public sentiment around vaccines. As Sanofi searches for a successor, industry observers will be watching closely to see how the company repositions itself in an increasingly competitive global healthcare landscape. Further details regarding interim leadership and the appointment of permanent CEO are expected in the coming weeks. Zainab Mohammed reporting for Beetv News.
One of the worst droughts in living memory is gripping South Africa's affluent Western Cape province, drying up dams, scorching grazing land, and killing livestock as authorities respond to the deepening crisis. The report.
Cattle, we've lost 16 cattle.
The prolonged dry spell has significantly reduced water levels in major dams across the province, leaving vast stretches of farmland parched and unproductive. Farmers are reporting severe losses, with cattle dying due to dehydration and lack of pasture. Grazing fields have turned brown under relentless heat, forcing many livestock owners to either sell off animals at reduced prices or watch them weaken from hunger. Provincial officials say water reserves have dropped to critically low levels following months of below-average rainfall. The situation has placed enormous pressure on both urban and rural communities, with farmers among the hardest hit. Agricultural unions in the province warn that the impact of the drought could have long-term economic consequences. Western Cape is a key agricultural hub in South Africa, producing significant amounts of fruits, wine, and livestock. Reduced output is expected to affect food supply chains and drive up prices if conditions persist. Local farmers describe the drought as devastating. Many say they have never experienced such extreme dryness in the case of farming. Some have resorted to drilling additional boreholes, purchasing expensive feed, or transporting water to keep remaining livestock alive. However, rising operational costs are compounding the financial strain. The government has declared a national emergency in response to the worsening drought conditions. Emergency measures are being put in place to provide relief support, including water supply assistance and aid to struggling farmers. Authorities are also urging residents and businesses to conserve water as dam levels continue to fall. Weather experts attribute the severity of the drought to a combination of climate variability and shifting weather patterns, warning that such extreme events may become more frequent. As temperatures remain high and rainfall forecast uncertain, farmers in Western Cape face an anxious wait for relief, hoping for substantial rains to restore dams, revive grazing lands, and prevent further livestock losses. Naomi Ewere reporting from Beetv News.
Moving on to business news. 7 power plants across Nigeria are expected to face gas supply constraints as Sea Plant Energy shuts down a major facility for scheduled maintenance. Raising concerns about possible electricity shortfalls and blackouts, the Nigerian Independent System Operator NISO has warned. In a notice issued on Thursday, NISO said the maintenance scheduled for Friday, February 12 to 15, 2026, will temporarily reduce gas availability to several thermal power plants. The operator added that critical national infrastructure and essential services will be prioritized if load management measures become necessary during the period. The report. Power plants expected to be directly affected include Egbai Power Plant, Azura Edo Power Plant, Saple Power Plant, and Transcorp Power Plant. Others likely to experience indirect constraints due to network-wide gas balancing effects are NDPHC Saple Power Plant, Olorunshogbo Power Plant, and Omotosho Power Plant. The maintenance will affect gas supply into the NNPC Gas Infrastructure Company Limited pipeline network, temporarily reducing thermal generation capacity on the national grid.
According to NISO, the 4-day maintenance could lead to a generation shortfall of about 934.96 megawatts, representing roughly 19.67% of the combined available thermal and hydro capacity of 4,753.10 MW on the grid. In a separate statement, NISO Management and NNPC Limited confirmed that gas supply to 7 grid-connected plants will be curtailed during the exercise. Tinubu approves expansion of legacy road projects nationwide. The federal government has approved major road expansions across Nigeria, including a 8.7-kilometer extension of the Bodo-Boni Road in the Niger Delta and the construction of the Akwanga-Jos-Bauchi-Gombe-Maiduguri corridor, reinforcing its commitment to strategic infrastructure, regional integration, and economic growth. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, disclosed the developments during a press briefing at the Ministry of Works Conference Hall in Abuja, describing the approvals as part of President Bola Tinubu's directive to accelerate critical road projects nationwide. The Bodo-Boni Road extension, he said, would significantly enhance access to coastal communities, support trade, and strengthen integration within Rivers State and the wider South-South region. Customs approved Lagos Free Zone Green Channel. In a move to advance Nigerians' trade facilitation, the Nigeria Customs Service has approved the activation of the Lagos Free Zone Green Channel, a dedicated corridor enabling the seamless controlled movement of free zone cargo directly from the Lekki Deep Sea Port to the Lagos Free Zone. As the only free zone in Nigeria with the Lekki Deep Sea Port as its anchor tenant, Lagos Free Zone is now uniquely positioned to offer a competitive advantage in inward logistics. A statement from the Free Zone on Thursday, it was stated that with the official sanction from the NCS-LFZ, has become the first and only zone in the country to operate a sanctioned grid channel, reflecting globally recognized ports to free zone logistics and customs integration models implemented in leading trade hubs in the Middle East and Asia. By eliminating traditional bottlenecks between the port and the zone, the Lagos Free Zone Green Channel transforms the operational landscape for tenants. The dedicated corridor enables a port-to-factory velocity that converts location within the zone into a strategic edge, reducing capital tied up in demurrage and truck wait times. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for BTV News.
And now to entertainment news. Content creator and singer Kata Efe has publicly expressed disappointment after Afrobeat star Wizkid gifted 20 million naira to hype man known as God Over Everything, GOE. The report.
It will be recalled that in 2023, the Afrobeat singer had gifted the hype man the cash after he mentioned him in a video. Although after he had gone viral, following the cash gifts, little to nothing has since been heard about him. In a viral video, Kata Efe stated that he has consistently promoted Wizkid music since the start of his career, dancing and supporting every release. He questioned why the singer chose to gift the money to someone else despite his long-standing loyalty. Kata Efe referenced singing his tribute song Machala and still didn't get any recognition. In another development, a female friend of Queen Dami, wife of Portable, has made a shocking claim about the singer's wife's recent fainting incident. Earlier, Portable claimed that Queen Dami fainted after he questioned her about her affairs with other men. According to the close friend, Queen Dami's fainting incident was staged to gain online sympathy. The friend, whose identity wasn't disclosed during the live stream, shared that she sustained injuries during the planned incident. After arriving at the hospital, the doctor demanded 250,000 naira to commence treatment, prompting Dami to wake up. It's worth noting that Queen Dami and Portable's controversy stems from their on-again, off-again relationship. Portable claimed they reconciled, but Queen Dami denies this, stating he's her ex and she has moved on. The drama escalated when Portable shared screenshots of their chat, alleging she asked for money, and an audio where she discussed financial support. However, Queen Dami has filed a petition against Portable for cyberbullying, blackmail, and threats to her life. Queen Dami was previously married to the late Alaafin of Oyo, Oba Lamidi Adeyemi III, and they had a child together. After his passing, she began dating Portable in August 2023, a period marked by public disputes and allegations of infidelity. Cardi B has traded barbs online with the Department of Homeland Security. The rapper and the U.S. government beefed on social media this week after Cardi sounded off on immigration and custom enforcement spree of arrest. On Wednesday, Cardi 33 told fans at a Little Miss Drama Tour concert in Palm Desert, California, she would throw hands if ICE agent arrived at her gigs. In response, a representative from the DHS, which controls ICE, then linked to a news article about Cardi's outburst accompanied by the statement, as long as she doesn't drug or rob our agents, we'll consider that any improvement over her past behavior. The caption was a reference to a 2019 social media post in which Cardi B addressed confessions that she had drugged and robbed men in hotel rooms when she worked as a stripper. Evelyn is Sibley reporting for Beetv News.
And now to sport news. Team Nigeria has been handed a feisty World Group 2 draw in the 2026 Davis Cup, where they will face Morocco for a place in World Cup 1 in September. The draw for the World Cup Premier International Men's Team Tennis Competition renews the recent rivalry between Nigeria and Morocco, which was reignited at the just concluded 2025 African Cup of Nations hosted by the North Africans. After a tense 120 minutes of football marred by controversial refereeing decisions, Nigeria lost the semi-final 4-2 on penalties. Like the AFCON clash, the Davis Cup World Cup Group 2 tie will also be played in Morocco. Morocco dropped to World Group 2 after losing their World Group 1 playoff against Colombia at the USM Tennis Club Stadium in Casablanca. That feature was also marred by provocative scenes both on the court and in the stands. To advance to World Group 2, Nigeria defeated higher-ranked Uzbekistan 3-1 at the Lagos Lawn Tennis Club, a result that has scarred renewed ambition among administrators and players and improved Nigeria's position in the Davis Cup rankings. Many thanks for staying with us on Beetv Global News at 12. My name is Temitope Oluwafemi. Do have a wonderful afternoon. Goodbye.